Planet Dolan.
From being crushed to death at the happiest place on Earth to getting your head cut off by a roller coaster, we look at 10 horrifying amusement park accidents. Hello there. My name is Nixium, Lord of the Dead, and today I will be reading the words on this here piece of paper for your enjoyment. Number 10, Decapitation by Roller Coaster. In 2008, a South Carolina teenager was decapitated by one of the trains for Batman the Ride, a roller coaster at Six Flags over Georgia in Atlanta. While on a church outing, a teenager and his friend decided to sneak back into the park by jumping the two fences. Ignoring the warning signs, the boys found themselves in a restricted area, and as the ride went by, the ski lift-style train decapitated one of the boys. To this day, it is still not known what those two boys were doing in that restricted area. Number 9. Tree on the Tracks. 5 people riding the Loch Ness Monster roller coaster at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, were hurt when their train slammed into a tree. Visitors to the Virginia theme park were riding the roller coaster when a tree blew onto the tracks, thanks to heavy winds from an approaching storm. The most serious injury happened to a teenager who was sitting in the front seat, who broke their leg. Stranded almost 30 feet above the ground, the passengers waited almost 2 hours to be rescued, with rain pouring down on them. But even worse, another train was heading straight for them. As they watched helplessly in their wrecked train, the other train came out of the tunnel, but luckily, it stopped when it was going up the steep incline. Number 8. Calico Train. In 1996, the operator for the Calico Railroad ride at Knott's Berry Farm Amusement Park in California was crushed between 2 railroad cars while getting ready for the park to reopen that evening for their Halloween event. Officials at the park don't know the circumstances of the accident, whether it was the fault of the employee or the mechanics of the ride, but it was the first ever employee fatality at Knott's Berry Farm. Number 7. Trapped in the Himalaya. Teenager Nadine Caban died when she rode the Super Himalaya ride at Coney Island in New York City. While the ride spun around, a hook that held 2 of the cars together snapped, causing her car to shake violently. Nadine was thrown from her car and became trapped between the cars and the track. When ride operators finally stopped the ride, Nadine was found hanging onto a rail, still trapped and covered in blood. She kept asking, "What happened to me?" Once firefighters and paramedics freed her, she was brought to the hospital, where she died 1 hour later. The Super Himalaya ride was discovered to have not been a perfectly safe ride. In the past, there was an incident where a rider was injured, and at a different time, the ride was cited when inspectors found that it had electrical problems. Number 6. Falling apart. When a group of people went for a ride on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad one day at Disneyland Paris, something happened that added horror to the ride. A piece of scenery made of fiberglass and wood fell onto the track, which was hit by one of the trains. One rider had a serious head injury, and 4 others had only minor injuries. The roller coaster was later closed by Disneyland officials until they determined how the scenery came loose and how did it fall. Number 5. The Big Dipper. In 1972, West London experienced a tragedy when 5 children died and many others were injured after the Big Dipper roller coaster collided with another train. Located at the Battersea Park Fun Fair, the accident happened when the train was going up the lift hill. As it was going up, the train broke loose from the cable and rolled down the hill, and then it slammed into the other train at the bottom. After the incident, the Big Dipper was closed and it was taken apart. The fun fair itself declined in popularity, and it was permanently closed 2 years later. Number 4. Underwater Ride. In 1999, during a river raft ride, 8 people found themselves underwater when their raft capsized at Riverside Amusement Park. It was speculated that the raft capsized because the weight of the guests wasn't properly spread out. A 4-year-old boy needed CPR, a 9-year-old girl was underwater for 3 minutes, and a pregnant woman was in the hospital for 6 days. But luckily, all the riders did survive. 2 years later, they sued the company, the ride's manufacturer, and 2 of the park's employees. And since the year 2000, the park has become Six Flags New England. Number 3. Hanging Around. Riders of the Demon, a corkscrew roller coaster at Six Flags Great America in Chicago, ended up staying on that ride much longer than they anticipated. 2 hours. Not only that, they were stuck upside down. Due to a nut coming loose on a rear axle, one of the wheels came off on the last car of the train, which gave visitors the unforgettable ride. Once the riders were freed, 4 of them were taken to the hospital for minor injuries. Since the accident, an additional safety mechanism was added. Number 2. America Sings. Disneyland is known as being the happiest place on Earth, but it certainly wasn't for cast member Deborah Stone, who was crushed between the walls on the attraction America Sings on July 8th, 1974. The 18-year-old's job was to introduce a certain part of the show, which had 6 shows where animatronic animals would sing a variety of songs from American music. After each show, the theater would rotate to the next stage. One night, while the theater rotated, Deborah stepped in the danger area and became caught between a rotating wall that was closing against the stage's stationary one. People in the next theater heard her screams, and one guest went to get another cast member for help. After Deborah's death, Disney closed the ride for 2 days and installed safety lights and breakaway walls to prevent similar accidents. Number 1. Action Park. While there was no single accident at Action Park, New Jersey, it still deserves a mention for its reputation as being such an unsafe park in its early years. During its original operation from 1978 to 1998, the park was known to have unsafe rides, unruly guests, and underaged, undertrained, and sometimes drunk employees. A total of 6 people died from the attractions, 3 of them drowning in the too-deep tidal wave pool. There was also one incident where a guest went into the water at the Kayak Experience attraction in order to steady his kayak. His foot touched an electrical wire, and it electrocuted him. But years later, the park did reopen as Mountain Creek Water Park with much safer rides. Plans to give the park back its old name were tossed, with the president of the company saying that the name wouldn't connect with younger visitors. The bad reputation that surrounded the old action park might have had something to do with it too. So guys, what were you scared of when you were little? Let us know in the Reddit page linked below, and you may just be featured in a future countdown. It seems I have to leave you now, mortals, but don't worry, I shall return. See ya! But one fatal day, he done fucked up and dropped it into his mouth, and somehow, he swallowed it. He was rushed to the hospital and was immediately operated on. But guys, intestines are long as shit, and so the doctors couldn't find it.